Hello! Welcome to Levels Plus Weekly episode 47. And it's not just your imagination that I sound better. This is my first episode with the brand new microphone. Woo! So this is very exciting. I've been doing a lot of testing with it since I got it, and it sounds amazing. It's transformative. It seriously is. Unfortunately, I don't have my new webcam yet, so that's going to have to wait another week. But at the very least, I sound infinitely better. So that's awesome. Today, we've got a few things to talk about. This week had some huge news about some small, tiny companies coming together that we'll get into in a little bit. I also want to continue my Smash Brothers Wildcat JF discussion by talking about how I would change some of the roster. And NN and Strictly Limited shared the Egret II Mini release updates for North America and Europe, and reservations are open now. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this whole deal, stay tuned, because I'll be talking about that first. Alright, I've zoomed in a little bit so I can show off the Egret II Mini a little bit better. So, what is this? Well, if you didn't see my video earlier, Taito is releasing a mini replica of their Egret II Mini arcade cabinet. It's going to have 40 games pre-installed with the option of adding 10 more if you buy the paddle controller via SD card. So here's a little bit more of a close-up of what it is. So this is NN's, i.e. Strictly Limited, have created a blue variant of this for North American and European launches. So it's got blue buttons and a joystick versus the pink that the Japanese one has. The big thing about the Egret is that it has a rotatable screen. You can pop it out to make it horizontal or vertical, and some of the games work better depending on how you set up your monitor. It's got save states, adjustable lives, rapid fire. You can play it on your TV. It's got USB ports. Here's some of the optional controllers. So this is the one that I also ordered, so I got the extra 10 games with it. But there's also a control panel, which is pretty similar to the arcade front, as well as a control pad. Now, you can order the Egret II Mini by itself with a cup and cup holder and the instruction cards that go on the top here. From Games Rocket, which is NN's upcoming partner store. And you can make a reservation for it now. The base unit goes for $229.99. And the paddle controller is $169.99, which is kind of ludicrous, really. So if you just want the Mini, you don't care about the extra 10 games, then that might be the way to go. Amazon Japan might be able to do it a little bit cheaper than that, but that's going to really be an iffy situation at this point since we're 2 months out from that release. I don't really know how many more pre-orders they're taking. The cost could have gone up since I ordered it. I don't know. I haven't looked at that specifically. Now, if you are into collecting stuff, NN's collector's arm, Strictly Limited, has 2 additional options for you. So if you go to strictlylimited.com, you'll see that right at the top they're talking about the Egret II Mini as well, and they have the arcade cabinet blue edition, which is a little hard to see, so let me put a picture up so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. And as you saw, it comes with an arcade strategy book. It comes with a 4-disc anniversary soundtrack of Zuntata tunes. It includes the paddle and trackball controller with the SD card and the mini instruction cards. So they're asking $369.99 for this, which will save you actually some money in comparison to ordering the Egret II Mini and the paddleball controller through Games Rocket. Plus, you'll get the soundtrack in the book. But that's a lot of money up front for something. I understand that. However, if you really want to go all in on this thing, you can check out the Game Center edition, which is $499.99, and adds both of the other controllers, so you'll get the control panel and the control pad controller, as well as an arcade backdrop and some games flyers, a sticker, and a bookmark on top of everything that came with the prior edition. And just like Games Rocket, you can make reservations for these now. Now, there's only 5,000 of these total that are being made. And 2,000 are going through Games Rocket. There's 1,800 of the arcade cabinet and 1,200 of the Game Center. I don't know how many Taito is made for Japan. And as much as I would love to have some of this stuff, I'm trying to have less stuff. And at this point in time, I feel pretty happy just getting the Mini itself and the paddle and trackball controller for the $261 I paid for it from Amazon Japan. But if you want this is a good way to go, especially if you are a collector and want to get music or a strategy book or art of Taito stuff. I mean, this is great for those of you that are interested in that type of stuff. But for me, personally, I'm going to stick with my Amazon Japan order because I just want the games at this point. I have a friend who is going all in on this thing who's going to share some of the results of that expenditure with me. So I'll get to see what he got. I'm good with that. So that is all of the skinny on the Egret II Mini. Here we are with Microsoft adding yet another mammoth corporation to its IP list following Bethesda. How do I feel about this? This is complicated. What I will say as of right now is that news is still early, and there was a lot of conflicting reports on where current Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick's going to end up. The prevailing understanding is that once the deal is finalized, he will basically golden parachute his way out, and Microsoft will have to deal with the mess that he left behind. So, if you are unfamiliar, I talked about a lot of what's been happening at Activision Blizzard several months ago. Here's the link if you're interested. And basically the short version is that there was a lot of abuse, a lot of sexual harassment, a lot of just misogynistic garbage happening at Activision and Blizzard separately prior to their merger. And once the merger happened, it basically snowballed, and multiple instances of women coming forward saying that they were abused, harassed, assaulted, including Bobby Kotick being implicated in an assault. There have been attempts to unionize, and Activision Blizzard hired a union-busting firm to basically try to quell that. There's a whole lot, and I'm going to go ahead and share this link. I think Kotaku has probably done the best at keeping tabs on all of the various things that have come out in the months since all of this started. So, Microsoft stepping in to buy Activision Blizzard in the midst of all of this looks really crappy on their part.
it really appears that they saw an opportunity to acquire this massive conglomerate of IPs in the midst of a huge public relations debacle, and went for it despite the ramifications that it might hold. That's my take. My take is that this was a really poor looking move on Microsoft's part, and pretty much, given the fact that Kotick's going to still lead the company while the transition is taking place, pretty much made me uninterested in doing anything with Xbox for the foreseeable future. Because as much as they've been crowing about equity and equality and inclusion, you can't just buy a company like Activision Blizzard in the midst of a huge lawsuit about those very things not being done. It looks bad. It looks really bad to me. And it basically killed my interest in the new Perfect Dark. It's soured my opinion on Microsoft as a company on the whole. Because if you're going to clean house, you need to start now. And I know that they kind of have to wait until all the governmental stuff is in place and allow the transaction to follow through and all that. But it's if they're interested in doing it, then they should probably have done this announcement later when it was more final, and clean out the trash. There's so much trash with Activision Blizzard, and they aren't doing anything about the trash as of this moment. Time will tell if they will. Time will tell if they will. But as of this moment, as of me recording this, it's a bad look, and I have to say that I'm disappointed in Microsoft. And I haven't even got into the monopoly component yet. I haven't even got into the fact that Microsoft in the last 2 years have purchased multiple development studios, including Ninja Theory, Obsidian, inXile, Double Fine, among others that I can't remember, because they're not as big of a thing, or they've been working with Microsoft for a while. On top of that, they bought Bethesda, so they own Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Quake, all of that, and now they're adding everything under the Activision Blizzard umbrella, which is enormous. Just off the top of my head, there's Call of Duty, their biggest thing. They've got Crash Bandicoot, they've got Spyro the Dragon, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, all of Activision's iconic IP from their early days. So they got Pitfall, and they've got River Raid, and Kaboom. They've got all of that. In the midst of all of the Activision acquisitions over the years, they now have Infocom, all of those games. So that's Zork, that entire series. They own Sierra Online now. So that means King's Quest, Police Quest, Space Quest, Quest for Glory, Gabriel Knight, Phasmagoria, I'm forgetting such a big... Leisure Suit Larry. All of that is now Microsoft's. Then we have Blizzard, of course, who Overwatch, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Diablo, huge IPs. And then there's also King, the makers of Candy Crush, one of the biggest mobile games of all time. And that's just scratching the surface. That's not even getting into the minutia of everything else that Activision has gobbled up over the years. That's just like what I could think of off the top of my head. And those are all now Microsoft's. Microsoft is swimming in so much IP right now. And if Rare is any indication, they don't know what to do with all of the IP that they got from Rare. Right? They infrequently pull on it. And that's my concern on top of the fact that they bought a sexist, misogynist trash company, is that what are they going to do with all of the stuff that they have? I mean, Bethesda's still functioning. They're still doing games. They bought developers, so we have all of them, but most of them have their own projects that they're already working on. Who's going to step in and start working on like a new King's Quest game, right? Or it's such a monumental thing, and it's closing opportunities for competition. And now everyone's looking at who's next. What's Sony gonna buy? Is Nintendo looking to buy something? And ultimately, it's just like, no, we don't need these publishers of consoles to get any bigger. Because they're already huge and they're already making so much money. It's one thing to buy a developer. I think it's another thing entirely to buy a publisher. And there's so many things about Activision Blizzard being purchased that is rubbing me the wrong way, and I'm really not pleased with Microsoft right now. I think this was a bad decision in the midst of the lawsuit to begin with. But on top of that, they just bought Bethesda last year. And we already know what happened. Starfield, their next big game, is an Xbox exclusive. And that's all this is. It's just trying to make Game Pass more attractive. It would be like if Nintendo bought Capcom or Square Enix. You know, it's that big of a deal. And I don't like it. I'll be honest, I don't like it. So that's the big news of the week. That's all you're going to probably have heard about this week. I just wanted to share my thoughts on it because it's a big deal. It matters. It's basically made my life easier because now I can just continue to ignore Activision Blizzard and I can ignore Microsoft. I've ignored Xbox my entire life, and I have even more reason to now. So, great job. Great job. Let's cat intermission into something more pleasant, shall we? With that heavy talk out of the way, let's move on to something more fun. Let's talk about Super Smash Bros. Wildcat JF Edition. So part 2 is going to be split across a few episodes, and it's going to be thoughts on how I would change movesets for the existing cast that remains. And I did a test run of this to kind of just do what moves I would want to change and all of that, and took a bit of time to do. So I think what we'll do for today is we'll get through the top 2 rows, and then we'll work through the next 2 and then the bottom 3, and that will probably be fair. Now, some characters I'm not going to have a whole lot of changes I'm going to want to make. Yoshi, Pikachu, for example, I think that they're pretty rock solid. So I don't really have a whole lot to say about them. So I will just quickly note that, and we'll just move on to the next character if that's the case. There are some characters that I have some more extensive thoughts on, and we'll spend more time on those. And what I decided to do, since I did a test run, is I don't want to just like come up with up B specifically for every character I have significant changes on. I kind of just want to give a theming sense of what I would want their moves to change into for some characters. Daisy's a really good example of this, because I'm kind of just doing this on the top of my head. I don't have a script or anything. I'm just like, I've thought about this a lot. So some characters is going to come easier, some it's going to come a little slower. Costumes and skins and stuff like that I'm going to do in a later episode, as well as music. And I do have to say I have been working on music stuff, and I'm pretty excited about talking about tracks I would love to add into Smash for existing franchises as well as the new characters I want to add. So that will be fun. But we'll get to that in a later episode, and those will probably be unlisted because of course they will be. Their music. Thanks, DMCA. So let's go ahead and get into the topic at hand, and we'll start with Mario. Mario has had the same moveset since Melee, more or less, and I think it's time for some changes. I think Flood needs to be retired. I think that something else should be done, and what I'm thinking is moving his cape to a down B and putting Cappy from Odyssey as a side B that can be used as an extra jump off point as well as a means of... I don't think we could have Mario take control of opponents, but maybe it's like stun them for a second while Cappy's on there trying to see if he can take them over. I think that would be cute. And it would give Mario a far more useful move than Flood, because I rarely see Flood used. And if it is used, it's just to be annoying. I also want to change his Final Smash, and there's a couple ways this could be done. One is to actually make that giant fireball reflect something from the Mario franchise, and the easiest way to do that is to throw a clove or a spade above his head and make it Firestorm from Mario RPG. That would be the quick and easy way to do it. Or we could do something new and exciting. And something that I thought of in my test run was like an Odyssey super where he transforms into all kinds of different things and runs into the opponents. So like Taxi Cab, Tank, T-Rex, stuff like that. Chain Chomp. I think that would be cute. I think it would be a really good nod to the most recent Mario entry. Because you can't do like some of the other super moves that Mario gets. Because you can't do Metal Mario because the Metal Cap's an item. You can't make him Superstar because the Superstar is already in the game as an item. So that's the best thing I currently have is just this cute little Odyssey medley of chaos. Donkey Kong has always been more reflective of the Donkey Kong Country series in Smash, which is fine. That's the series he's appeared in most, oddly enough, at this point. But I've always thought he should have like a barrel move to reflect his arcade roots. And yes, I am aware that Donkey Kong Arcade is not the same DK as the one in the Country series. I don't care. He was in Donkey Kong 94. Throwing barrels, so I don't think that my idea is completely far-fetched. So I'm thinking like get rid of headbutt and make that side B a barrel roll, and it would be a nice little nod. And it would be slow. It would be something he could carry like his throw, but it would be like a big damaging projectile. And maybe if you charged it up, it would be an oil barrel, so it would explode. All kinds of fun things that you could do with that. But everything else I think is solid for DK, so I'm not going to say anything else. For Link, with the transformation of Link into Breath of the Wild exclusive Link, I think that more or less he's kind of there. Because he still has bombs, he still has boomerangs, he still has the bow, and he still has a spin attack. I think it would be cool if they could incorporate a couple of the other runes. Maybe into his throws, since they basically redid his throws. But the big thing with Link is I think his Final Smash is kind of weak. So I think that the Ancient Arrow could be a launching point into having the four Divine Beasts shoot lasers crisscrossing each other and destroying the opponent that way. I think that would be far more cinematic, and it would still be on brand for Breath of the Wild. So that would be my suggestion. Samus is getting rid of the Zero Beam Final Smash. It has no basis on her moveset in any Metroid game. It's a made-up beam, and it doesn't need to be there. So we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to put in a beam that's actually from a Metroid game. And I'm going with Dread. So there will be a slight spoiler if you haven't played Dread.
So just skip ahead a little bit. There'll be a time on the screen to skip ahead to if you don't know what happens in Dread at the end. So the spoiler is that Samus, in her fight with Ravenbeak, activates the Metroid DNA inside of her fully and becomes a Metroid of sorts. So she has a Metroid suit, and with this Metroid suit she acquires the Hyper Beam and just blows away the X-infected Ravenbeak with a ginormous beam, and it looks rad, and I think that would make a great final smash for Samus moving forward, because it actually has a basis in something that's real. I also think I would make her default outfit the Dread outfit, and maybe make a couple other concessions. Maybe have her missiles be ice if you do the super missile, instead of just regular missiles and super missiles, but an ice missile. And I think it would be cool if her dash attack had something to do with the speed booster. Especially now that they've really amped up the fact that she has boosters on her back, little jets. I think that would be cool, because that's something that Smash has always implemented, and I think it would be cool if they continued to play around with that. But otherwise, Samus has been pretty rock solid in terms of her moveset from the get-go, and the only other change I think I would make is to make the screw attack a little bit more impactful, like it is in the series, because it always is kind of hit kind of weak, in my opinion. Dark Samus is going to be completely redone to be her own character. She's a creature of Phazon, and she's a Metroid Prime. So I want to reflect the Phazon and her Metroid Priminess in her moveset. So I think like she would do like a dash forward in the Metroid Prime form as a side B, and unleash the tendrils of Phazon up from the ground around her as a down B, like she did as her assist trophy in Wii U. Stuff like that, just to make her very, very distinct. Give her arm cannon like a spread shot type of thing, or a rapid fire type of blast. Things to make her stand out even more than she does, because Dark Samus never mimicked her move set, only the look. So as I said at the top, Yoshi, I don't have any changes. Kirby is pretty solid. I think personally it would be cute if his epic yarn grab ability would be like his throw, and then they'd just be the enemies would be rolled up and then tossed in any direction. I think that would be cute. But like his moveset is so like dedicated at this point. The only other thing I would probably change is his final smash, and I would make it Crash from Kirby's Adventure, because I've always thought that would look amazing to have that in 3D, and I've never gotten that wish. But I'm getting it now. Fox, the only thing I could think about changing with Fox, because they made his final smash perfect, and his moveset is pretty much so locked in on who he is, that the only thing I could even think of doing is incorporating the staff from Star Fox Adventures into something. I just don't know what. Maybe his up B Firefox gets a little bit enhanced from the staff or something like that, just to toss it in there, a nice little nod. But other than that, I can't really think of anything, and changes would come to Wolf and not Fox. I don't think I could change anything about Pikachu, honestly, as I said at the top. He's pretty set. She's pretty set. Luigi, on the other hand, I have some big alterations to make him not a clone of Mario. And a lot of it's going to be pulling from Mario and Luigi. Particularly his B attack would now be Thunderball, and his up B would be High Jump, and he jumped off of Luigi instead of Mario. And then I'm thinking like make him have a cape-like move, but with the raccoon tail from Mario 3, because that would be unique. And I think his Final Smash would be great to keep. I think that the Poltergust is ideal. Have his throws continue to use the Poltergust, and his defaults are already very distinct and unique. So I don't think I could really change anything else. The last thing I would suggest is maybe his down B be a hammer attack, again reflecting his Mario and Luigi moveset. Just make Luigi be his own man at this point. Ness is tricky because Ness has a really strong moveset that pulls a lot from Paula. And the only thing that, if I were to actually go, well, Ness should only use the moves that he has access to in Earthbound, then that's going to basically be rewriting the character. And in his case, I don't feel compelled to do that. The only thing I think I would want to change, honestly, is to have PK Love be in there somehow. Since that is his iconic move from Earthbound. I don't know how that would be incorporated. I don't want to get rid of PK Starstorm, because as annoying as that move is, having Paula and Pooh join in just really makes it special. But maybe that could be a down B instead of the healing move. That hitting the orb in front of Ness makes that suddenly erupt PK Love, something like that. I'll have to give that a little bit more of a thought. Captain Falcon had his moveset basically created for Smash, and it's legendary at this point, so I don't want to touch it. I've had thoughts of him using that blaster on his hip, but you know, there's just something funny about him not using that, so I think I won't. Peach. Peach is a character that I'm going to take a few things away from to give to Daisy. So she's no longer going to have the golf club or the tennis racket smashes. She's just going to have the frying pan, referring to Super Mario RPG. I'm also going to make her up B be, what is its name? Paisley from Super Princess Peach, which will be the only reference to that game. We are not putting the emotions into this game. So at the very least, the Parasol has some personality. But otherwise, the only thing I would really change about Peach on a structural level is her Final Smash. I think her dancing around in place with peaches falling everywhere is not really apt, other than that's her name. So she's going to have a cooking one. She's going to make a cake. And in that process, she's going to fend off an attempted kidnapping by Bowser's minions while she makes the cake. So she'll get healed, and the kitchen will eventually explode as she's fighting off like Hammer Brothers and stuff like that. And I think that would be really cute. I think that would be a really clever Final Smash that both plays up the fact that she makes cakes and that she gets kidnapped all the time, and she overcomes both, and that would be great. Daisy is going to be the Mario Sports champion. So she's going to have all of her moves that were Peach influenced be changed to be more sporty, because that's the type of character she is. So I'm thinking like she would kick a soccer ball, she would hit tennis lobs, she would hit golf balls, stuff like that, just to really amplify the fact that she's the sports character. She loves sports. And trying to make that not run over a Wii Fit trainer in any way. That's basically my thought. And their Final Smash would, of course, not be Peach's. It would be something of her own. That probably relates to her Super Strikers Bananas move set. Because that game just had so much hype, and I think it really fits Daisy to have that. Bowser, at this point, has eliminated a lot of the things that I had issues with him about in earlier games. His run is now proper, like he has a good run, and I think all of his moves, except maybe his side B, reflect something that he's done in the past, but I kind of like the side B because it works for him. So the Final Smash, I'm going to get rid of Giga Bowser finally. The legacy of Giga Bowser is gone. And I'm going to make it a baby Bowser reference from Yoshi's Island. Because it's basically the same thing. It's going to be just a big Bowser, intimidating Bowser in the background that punches the opponent, but it's going to look like it did in Yoshi's Island versus Giga Bowser. Ice Climbers. I can't think of a thing to change about them. Their moveset was made up anyway, and it works really great for them, so I don't have anything I'd want to change. Zelda's in the same boat. I think that all of her moves pull from things that make sense, and her final smash is perfect. Sacred Realm is one of the best final smashes in the game. I love it. And I also think that she's got a really solid moveset. I did get rid of Sheik, but I don't want to make Sheik part of Zelda's moveset. I think that it is time for Sheik to retire, and don't worry, there will be a character coming in that will be a lot like Sheik. Marth, I want his counter to incorporate the Fire Emblem, because in his particular timeline, the Fire Emblem is an actual shield. And wouldn't it be great if he just didn't use his sword to counter, but he used his Fire Emblem to counter? That just makes so much more sense to me. And I would make his final smash flashier. I think he could still be the critical hit, but the way that it currently sits, it's kind of boring. And like I was saying when I did the ranking of final smashes, it's been outclassed. It was great in Brawl, because it worked really well within the dynamic that was Brawl. But 4 games on, and it's just looking really dated. I think if even just giving him like a Crom-like camera angle would work wonders to make it look better. So those are the changes I would have for Marth. Last but not least in this episode is Ganondorf. And he's going to not be a clone of Captain Falcon anymore. He's going to be incorporating things that he does in his own games. So he's going to have a lot more sword-based moves based on Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. As his standard A's, his smashes can stick with the big old sword that he was using in Ultimate, but all of his standard B attacks need to change. And I think that it's time to get dark magic. So I'm thinking like for a B attack that he could do that little reflective orb of magic that he casts out, and just knock that back and forth, and it gets stronger the more it reflects. And that would be a unique and fun mechanic in Smash, wouldn't it? To have that bouncing around, and it gets faster as it goes, just like it does in Ocarina of Time. I would love that. I think that would be great. A great side B could be his Trident, tossing that out similarly to Pyra's side B, but it goes out farther and it's slower. I think that would be awesome, because that would reflect Link to the Past, it would reflect Link's Awakening. His up B, I think, would be like a counter move of sorts, where he would suddenly rise up and Phantom Ganon would be in his place, and if someone attacked the Phantom, it would attack back, and then he would just be up in the air, floating around a little bit. I think that would be cool. I really think that that would be an interesting way to incorporate that type of counter attack, but make it an up B, because nobody else has something like that. And then a down B would be like a charged power magic attack. It could be something like he does in Hyrule Warriors, where he punches downward and this big old blast of dark energy rises up. Or it could be like an Ocarina of Time, that big old black hole-like massive magic that if it actually gets charged in full, unleashes this huge blast of magic. Something that would make it a move you'd really want to knock him out of before he charged it up all the way, because it would be devastating. That's what I think Ganondorf should be. His speed is fine. I think he should be a slower character and a powerful character. He just doesn't need to be doing Warlock punches anymore. And that's the top 2 rows. Yeah, I feel pretty good about those changes. And when we come back next week, we'll start on the 3rd and the 4th row, which will primarily be Brawl and a bit of Wii U 3DS and a tiny bit of Melee to wrap that up.
All right, that is today's episode. Kind of heavy with the Microsoft Activision Blizzard stuff.
as would be expected. But the Egret II Mini is cool. I think that's really awesome to see what they're doing for that, even though I'm not going to be partaking it from in or Strictly Limited. I'm glad they picked it up. And I hope that people enjoy it when they get their hands on it. And I've been loving talking about my Smash Fantasy project, so I hope you have been enjoying my thoughts on what I would change, and maybe thinking about your own ideas about what you would do if you had the reins of Smash. That's kind of the point, is this is what I would like. What would you want to do? So let's meet again in a week's time, shall we? And we'll continue the Smash talk. I think I want to talk about some gaming regrets. Games that I've sold that I wish I didn't. Games that I've lost. Games that I wish I picked up but I just didn't for whatever reason. Stuff like that. I think that would be an interesting episode to ruminate on. And we'll probably attack some other topic that comes up in the news. So until then, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.